Well, all right, everyone. If you've been following along in our chapter reviews, you know that some of the chapters, last couple, we've gotten really simple and straightforward review labs, but now we get something pretty darn challenging. That's right. We get something that I think is pretty darn representative of what we would see in the CCNA exam when it comes to layer 2 technologies. Yeah, we have this topology here with these tasks, and sure enough, we have to configure and verify VLANs here. We have to configure trunks. We have to configure EtherChannel. Yes, the three main topics out of Chapter 10, trunking, EtherChanneling, and just basic VLAN management are all presented to us here. Before we get started, remember, if you go up to the options preferences, you can see the port labels. So you can say, always show the port labels. And one of the things, I know it's tough to see, but we're going to discover that one of the things that makes this lab tricky for students is the ports are connected in kind of crazy ways here. Like one link doesn't connect to the exact same port ID as the other link. And there's non-contiguous. It appears that we have fast Ethernet 0/1 and 0/3 on distribution 1 connecting over to distribution 2. So we got to be very careful about what interfaces we are configuring as we move through here. All right, but let's get started. And remember, as I always do in these solutions, I'm going to operate like I'm really in the CCNA exam. So you're going to get to see my strategy as I would do the actual exam if this were my question. So I'm going to start out on distribution 1 here. We need to configure the trunk links using the interconnects between distribution 1 and distribution 2. We need to force encapsulation to 802.1q and use mode trunk. All right, well, here we go. The first thing I would do personally is a show CDP neighbor. Yep, the classic. Because I just want to make sure I am configuring the correct interfaces over here locally, and I need to make sure I understand what I'm going to be doing over on the other device. And I think I actually described it wrong. It's 0/3 and 0/2 over here that are being used. So it's so tough to see, but oh, there you go. If I drag it that way, we can see it. Fast Ethernet 0/2 and 0/3 are the interfaces on distribution 1. Wow. So like I said, we have to do due diligence here to make sure we are configuring the correct interfaces. All right, well, here's how I would do it personally. I would say interface range fast Ethernet 0/2-3 so that I configure these two interfaces at the same time. And I'm going to shut down those interfaces. Yes, whenever I'm doing things that could affect the other side like this, I shut down these interfaces. I don't want to create any incompatibilities, any error messages, anything like that as I'm configuring this side. And I'm going to do just what it asks me to do. I'm going to say switch port trunk encapsulation .1q. So there's me forcing the encapsulation. Then I'm going to say switch port mode trunk to force trunking mode. And then I'm going to do write to save. Remember, I like to save the configuration whenever I'm leaving one device to go to another device. Yeah, that way I always make sure I have saved configs. All right, I'm going to open up distribution 2, and guess what? On this switch, the interfaces we need to configure are going to be darn obvious. Yeah, it's the interfaces that went down because I downed the links on the other side. Wow, that makes it easy for me to see. On this side, it's 0/1 and 0/3. So I'm going to say interface range, fast Ethernet 0/1, space, comma, space, fast Ethernet 0/3. So a little trickier to get into interface range configuration mode because our interfaces are non-contiguous, but no big deal. We just give one, we do a space, a comma, a space, and then we give the other. Yeah, no problem. So we are now in interface range configuration mode, and you know what I have to do. Switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, switch port mode trunk. I will end, I will save, and now we are ready to go verify this configuration. We're going to go back over to distribution 1, and all we need to do is say no shut. We end, and I think the perfect way to verify this would be show interface trunk. And there we have it. We are now trunking on those two interswitch links. The mode is set to on with mode trunk, and the encapsulation is forced to 802.1q. I need to save once again because, of course, we no shut the interface, but I'm going to save before I leave any device configuration window anyways, so I would have been saving even if I had made no change there. Yes, I compulsively save in the exam to make sure my configs are always saved. Okay, now we are going to go to those same two links and we are going to form an ether channel with them. We once again use a mode of on to avoid any dynamic negotiation of ether channel, and they want an ether channel ID of 1. Now, some of you watching might say, Anthony, why didn't you read ahead? And why didn't you do this while you did this? Well, I could have, certainly. And I might have done it that way if I was in the CCIE exam, like super pressed for time. But here in the CCNA exam, I'm going to take things just kind of step by step. And let's face it, if you try and do both at once and you have an error or problem, it's going to make it so much tougher on you to troubleshoot. So let's start over on distribution 1, why don't we? And you know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be once again shutting down some interfaces because I don't want any incompatibilities. Now watch what we get to take advantage of here. We get to take advantage of, sure, the command history buffer. So I'm going to get right back into the range very easily of interfaces that I need to configure. I'm going to shut them down. And then I'm going to say channel group 1 mode on to bundle them in an ether channel. Wow, this step is so easy. I'm going to do right to save. I'm going to close that up. I'm going to go over to the distribution 2 switch, and I am going to once again take advantage of my command history buffer. I'm going to go back into the interface range, and I'm going to say channel group 1 mode on and do the port channel over there. I'm going to end and I'm going to save. I'm going to go back over to distribution 1 and I'm going to no shut and do my verification. Notice how similar this was for us in flow to the step 1 that we configured. So I do my no shut, I end, and I think once again, the perfect verification is just to do a show interface trunk at this point and make sure that the two physical interfaces here have been replaced with the logical trunk interface. I think this is where students might have a tendency to like over verify. Like they'll also do a show ether channel detail or summary or stuff like this. I don't understand why you would do that. Yeah, I think you're just kind of over verifying at that point. Yeah, for me, when I do the show interface trunk and I see that we are trunking now over the logical port channel, I don't know, for me personally, that's enough. Yeah, especially since we use one simple command, channel group 1 mode on. I don't think there's much we should have to go in and negotiate or verify rather on that ether channel. Okay, so we're ready for step 3. Sure enough, step 3 is to configure the links from the distribution layer devices down to the access layer device. Once again, forcing 802.1q and using mode trunk, but this time we can only permit VLAN 10 on the trunks using switchport trunk allowed VLAN 10. All right, well, let's get in and get it done. So I am going to go to this device, and I think once again, I'll do my show CDP neighbor. I need to make sure I'm on the correct interface, and it is on this side, fast Ethernet 0/1 that goes down to that access layer device. So I'm going to say interface FA0/1, you are shut down until I make the appropriate configuration on the other side. And I need you to do a switchport trunk encapsulation of .1q, and I need you to do switchport mode trunk, and we can't forget switchport trunk allowed VLAN 10. I am going to do my save, and we are going to go down to the access layer device, and we can see which interface shut down. Yeah, and that is my verification for where I need to be configuring. Isn't it nice how that works out? And I'm going to say interface fast Ethernet 0/3. And I'm going to say switchport, switchport trunk. Come on, you can spell, Anthony. Switchport trunk encapsulation .1q. And look at this. There is no switchport trunk encapsulation .1q command supported on this access layer device. Don't panic. That's because 802.1q is all this device can do. So all I need to do down here is switchport mode trunk, switchport trunk allowed VLAN 10. End and save. Go back up to distribution 1 and say no shut. And now, of course, we are ready for our verification and save up here. I'm going to say do show interface trunk. And look at this. We now have our trunk link in the correct specifications down to the access layer. And notice it is only VLAN 10 that is allowed on that link. I'm going to do a save, and we are good there. All right, we need to go over, so much work here. We need to go over to the distribution 2 device. And how about my show CDP neighbor? Isn't it great how we're leveraging this very basic command to help us out? Locally, it's fast Ethernet 0/2 I have to configure. So interface fast Ethernet 0/2, you are shut. Switchport trunk, boy, we're getting good at these commands. Encapsulation .1q, switchport mode trunk. I can't forget switchport trunk allowed VLAN 10. And you know what, I'm going to type that one more time. Yeah, I thought I had an extra space or something in there, but no, I'm okay. And I'm going to say do save. I'm going to go over to the access layer device. Once again, we get helped out seeing what interface it has to be. So I'm going to say interface fast Ethernet 0/4, switchport mode trunk, switchport, allowed, switchport trunk allowed VLAN 10. End, save, go back up to the distribution 2 device, no, shut. And what is my favorite verification in this lab? Wow, it's to do show interface trunk. Do we have an interface in the correct configuration trunking down to the access layer? Does it allow only VLAN 10? We are good. Do save. All right, so things are looking up here. What's next? Ensure that VLAN 10 exists on all three switches, and you can't do that with the VLAN trunking protocol. Oh, all right. Well, this is just a matter of visiting every switch. And let me end to get out of any kind of a configuration mode. That's being polite. Let me say show VLAN brief. Yeah, do we have a VLAN 10 on distribution 1? We do. Notice I will save even though I didn't make a configuration change because that's what I do. I'm just crazy like that. I would hate to lose points for not saving. That is my nightmare of CCNA. I'm going to end and I'm going to say show VLAN brief. Yep, we got a VLAN 10. I'm all good there. I would assume VLAN 10 does not exist on this device. Otherwise, this task is pretty meaningless. Let's check it out. So I'm going to show VLAN brief. Oh, look at that. No VLAN 10. So we will say VLAN 10 and save, show, VLAN brief, save again. There it is, VLAN 10. Wonderful. All right, well, it's about time we had an easy task. Step 4 was very easy. Step 5, ensure that Fast Ethernet 0/1 and 0/2 are access ports in VLAN 10. Aha, no surprise. The ports leading out to the PCs need to be access ports. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say interface range. The interface range we want is FA 0/1 to 2. And we're going to say switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. I'm going to end. I'm going to show VLAN brief. I'm going to ensure that our interfaces are in their correct VLAN. I'm going to save my configuration, and I am going to move on in my CCNA exam. Yep, I'm going to move on to my next question. Wow. So this is very realistic for an exam simulation. Maybe it's a little bit too much work for one sim, I will admit, but these are the types of configurations that we must practice and master for the CCNA exam. Trust me. Thank you so much for joining. Oh my gosh, I was about to end this video without grading. Oh my gosh, what if we did something wrong? We need to go in and fix that. Let's check our results. Whew, all right, well, that would have been embarrassing, but yeah, we did do everything correctly in this lab. And notice we're scoring perfectly on the switching and what Cisco considers other types of configurations. So everything checked out, and you gotta love it when that happens. To translate this into your CCNA exam, remember, this is a partial credit type of thing. So if you only got some of the points, you got some of the points. But in our case, which is what you are striving for in your exam as well, we want to get every single point that is available for us. We want to get them all like we did in this simulation. Thank you so much for watching, and you know what's coming next. It's our Chapter 11 review, and I hope to see you there.